Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and in this tutorial what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to access the camera, and we're just going to be building a simple app for this demonstration, and it's going to have a button right down here, and whenever you click it, it's going to launch your camera, and then whenever you take a picture of something, it's going to display right there. So pretty sweet. And before we begin, I want to mention that I did start a brand new project. And also make sure that you're using API 18 or higher, because there's one little package that we're going to use to make sure that your device has a camera, and it will still work if you're using like one of the older APIs, but it'll give you this weird warning message. So in order just to avoid it, let's go ahead and switch to API 18 or anything higher. You can even use Lollipop and it'll be fine. So in your main, or excuse me, your activity main, not main activity. It's kind of confusing. Main activity, activity main, tomato, tomato, whatever, whatever. Alright, so let's go ahead and get rid of this text view first. Now, the first thing that we need is that button. So go ahead and grab this button and drag it somewhere, not in the middle, somewhere on the bottom, like that. Now let me give myself a little more room to work. So the first thing we need to do is we need to give this an ID, and how about Bucky's button? And why is my computer making weird noises? Huh, sounds like my cooling thing. Hopefully I can if you guys can hear that, I apologize, it's really annoying. Alright, so anyways, getting kind of sidetracked here, and we'll just change the text on this to take photo, so the user actually knows what's going to happen whenever they click it. Now of course, just so this can actually do something, we'll add a method on click and we'll say launch camera. So that's essentially what this is going to do. Whenever you click it, it's going to launch the camera app and allow the user to take a picture. Now after they take the picture, we want to display it right up top here. So what we need in order to display it is an image view. So if you go down under widgets and add image view, you can drag it anywhere. Right around here is good for now. One second, my computer is being really loud. Alright, so apparently it's my cooling system's making stupid noises. It does that like once a week. It just starts making really dumb noises. So yeah, hopefully I can edit out that sound, but I have to deal with it right now. Alright, so you see how this image view is 0, 0? It pretty much has no size right now. That's because there isn't an image in it, and our layout is set to wrap content. So it's pretty much going to wrap around. Whenever we stick an image in there, it's pretty much going to fit whatever the content is, aka the image. But for right now, just so we have something to, I don't know, look at, let's go down and add minimum height, and we'll say like 300 dp, and we'll give it a minimum width of 300 dp too. Alright, so now what I want to do is move that up a little bit. So if I go way up, I can go layout margin and change the margin top to like 50 dp. See if that works. Alright, looks good enough. So the other thing that we need to do, the one last thing, is this. We need to give this an ID. So if you go to ID, image view will work, but I'd rather name it Bucky's image view. Alright, so now we got an area that can display image. Now we have a button that whenever we click it, it calls launch camera. So before we hop over and start coding this, let's go ahead and in the manifest we need to set up one permission, and that's of course the permission to add the camera. So if you go uses feature Android name, and the name of this is Android hardware.camera. Not camera 2, just camera. And another thing is Android required, set this equal to true. So now we pretty much are saying, okay, we want to use the camera on the user's device whenever they install this app. So that's all we have to do in the manifest. So close out of this and hop into your main activity.java, and we can start coding this thing. And I am back. I just had to put my computer to sleep and then wake it up real quick, because for some stupid reason, whenever it starts making noise, if you put it to sleep and then wake it up, it stops. So I probably need a new computer, but whatever. Alright, so all of my imports that I'm going to use are right here. So pause the video, take a second to copy those, and after you do that we can actually get rid of these, the last two menu methods. Won't be needing those. Now the first thing I want to do is just set up some variables, and the first one is static final int request. Did I spell everything correctly? Hopefully, and set this to 1. So what this constant is it's basically a way to identify your intent, and if you have a bunch of different intents, then you can set an identifier along with each one. But the only intent that we have is we intend to open up the camera and eventually take a picture. So again, this isn't really important. You can just pass in 1 if you want, but it's proper just to set it to a constant. So the next thing is I need a reference to image view right here, since we're going to be using it in a few methods. And I'll just name it Bucky's image view because that was the name in activity main. So now on create, as soon as we create this, what do we want to do? Well, the first thing we need is a reference to that button. Now we're only going to be using it in this method, so I'm just gonna create the entire thing right here. Now of course you already know how to do all this. Find view by ID, r.id.bucky's button. And we also need to do the same thing for that image view. So set this equal to image view, which is of course that area where we could display the image. Find view by ID, r.id.bucky's image view. Alright, so that was the easy stuff. Now the first thing we need to do is, before we can take a picture, we want to check if the user actually has a camera. Because if we're trying to call a bunch of intents dealing with the camera in their device, maybe it's a really old one, or just maybe not a high-end one and they don't have a camera, it's going to cause some problems. So I'm going to say disable the button if the user has no camera or something. Not the sewer, user. So again, we're going to check for a camera, and if they don't have one, then we're just going to disable this button. So they can't click it and launch the camera, obviously. So later on, I'm going to make a function called hasCamera, but for right now, I'm just going to call hasCamera, and it's just going to be a boolean. So it's either going to return true if they have a camera, or false if they don't, and we actually don't even need these. And that's why it's giving me this error, because I didn't create it yet, but I will in just a sec. And to disable that button, what I can do is I can call Bucky's button set enabled equal to false. Now it's true by default, so that's why you don't have to turn it on or anything like that. So now let's go ahead and make that hasCamera method right here. So again, all this is going to do is check if the user has a camera. And remember, it's just going to return true or false, true or false, true or false. Mommy, mash my M&Ms. Okay, got my tongue exercises taken care of. So again, it's not going to take any parameters, don't need any extra information. But actually, I don't need to write a comment. It's only one line of code. So all this is going to do is it's going to return this. Get package manager. I'll explain this in a second. Has system feature, and in here I'm going to write package manager feature camera any. There you are. Alright. So again, this package manager and all of this right here is pretty much saying, okay, if your device, on your device, we're going to check if it has a feature. What feature do you want to check for? We just want to check for any camera. Now there are different types of cameras that you can check for. You can check for only a front facing one, only a back facing one, but this is going to say, okay, as long as the user has any camera on their device, then we're going to return true. And as long as you return true, that button's still going to be enabled. If they don't have any camera on their device, then it's going to disable the button. So that's all that does right there. Now another thing I want to do is, remember, whenever we click this button, it calls, where's that button? On click, it calls a method called launch camera. So now we need to build that method right here, and this is going to be responsible for launching the camera. Alright, so public void launch camera. Now inside here we need to pass through our views, and let me give myself a little bit more space to work. Alright, so in order to launch the camera, what you need to do is you need to make a camera launching intent, and we can just name it intent and set it equal to new intent, and this means we intend to do something. And to launch the camera, it's media store dot action image capture. So this is the intent to actually capture an image, in other words, launch your camera. So after we take an image, what we want to do is we want to take a picture and pass results, and by results I mean the image information itself, whatever you took an image of. We're going to pass the results along to something called on activity result, and I'll talk to you guys through that in a second. Alright, hold on, might as well just finish typing this. Alright, so again, this is what we intend to do. Take a picture, and this right here, it pretty much kicks off that intent. So as soon as you start this activity, it's going to launch your camera. Now the reason we said start activity for result is because we want some information back after this is done happening. What information do we want back? Well, just information about the image that we took. So then we can do something like save it, print it out, add some cool photo filter to it, whatever we want to do, but we need essentially that image. So we'll say, I don't know, if you, alright, so if you ever want to do something, if you ever want to return, same thing, I don't know. So just go ahead and hit Alt Insert, and we're going to override this method, and it is called on activity result. On dun, 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 dun. There we go. Okay. Alright, so this, tighten this up a little bit. So this on activity result is a method that's going to be called automatically after this method right here, start activity for result. So start activity for result, like I said, is we intend to capture an image. After we do, send the results along to on activity for result. So this is pretty much going to take the data and we'll just do whatever we say we want it to do. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to just make sure that we indeed did take an image, and also that we didn't have any errors or anything like that, and we can check those with these two variables right here. And it's just a real quick if statement, so you can say if request code is equal to request image capture and result code is equal to result OK. So again, like I just said, this request code pretty much ensures that you took an image, and result code, if it's result OK, it means that you didn't have any errors or anything like that. So if that's true, then that means that you did take an image. So now let's go ahead and get the data from it. So get the photo. Alright. So if you go to bundle, extras, and set this equal to data, which is this that got passed in, and that's the data of the photo. Now if you just call get extras, then what you can do from here is Bitmap, and I'm just going to name the photo itself photo, or you can name it pic or anything like that. But what this is, what the heck did I just press? Alright. Okay, this is ticking me off. So bitmap extras dot get data. So again, this is essentially returning the photo information, and we're converting it to a bitmap, and we're just storing it in the variable photo. So now this photo is essentially a photo that you can use to stick right in here, and in order to do that, you just get your image view, which is that area that can display a photo, bitmap right here. Since we have a bitmap, we want to set image bitmap to photo. Alright, so this, let me make sure everything looks good. Alright, that looks pretty good right there. Now obviously if I run this in the emulator, it's not going to work because the emulator is on my computer and it doesn't have a camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this on my device, and I'll post some screenshots of it so you guys can see what's going on. Let me do this. Let me take a screenshot of the screen I'm looking at right now. You guys could probably hear me take a screenshot. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Now I'm going to tap the take photo button, and after I tap it, this pops up. So you guys are going to see a picture of my computer. Let me take another screenshot. Alright, so that's what I'm looking at right now. And now let me actually take the photo. Alright, so I just took a photo of my computer, and now I'm going to hit save. And after I do that, this is the final app. And you guys, well, you guys can't see it, but alright, never mind. I'm like trying to talk to myself here. Alright, so hopefully if you coded everything the same as me, then yours should work too. If you have any other bugs or issues or anything, then you can go to my forum, just copy the source code, and well, if you have any questions, you can ask them there as well. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright guys, so now that we know how to take pictures with the camera, what I want to do now is I want to show you guys how to apply photo filters or other cool effects to your photos. So by the end of these tutorials, you guys are, I don't want to say that you're going to know how to make like Instagram photo filters, because those take a lot of time and you need like a background in photography, but I'm going to show you guys the real basics of how to bring out your highlights or contrast and also apply some cool overlays. So the first thing I want you to do is this. I already uploaded 2 photos. This one right here is just my profile photo. If you want, you can just go get any 2 square photos, but if you want these ones that I'm going to be working with, go to my forum in this link and just right click and save as. And I saved this one as, what did I save it as? Bucky.jpg. In this one, that white one you saw, what we're going to be doing here is we're just going to be placing this on top. And I know it looks white right now, but this is actually clear, as you guys can see right here. So again, whenever we place this on top of this image, what's going to happen is it's going to give it a nice frame and give it that old vintage scratched up kind of looking effect. Again, this looks it looks kind of weird, and it just makes my image look dirty, but if you have like a background in photography, then I'm sure you guys can change that. So anyways, go ahead, right click both of these, save them as, so they're saved to your computer. So the first thing we have to do is add them to our project. So I started a brand new project, nothing new, blank activity, whatever, and we need to get those to our drawable folder right there. So if you go and cut these, just cut those and then open up Windows Explorer. Wherever you have your project, what you can do is you can navigate to your drawable folder by going to App, Source, Main, RES, which stands for Resources, and you can just stick them in your drawable. I'll stick them in a drawable HDPI and just paste those in there. So now we can actually close out of this, and if we look back in drawable, we see that we now have that Bucky.jpg, which is my face, and that dirty, which is pretty much some like a frame. Alright, so now what we have to do is we actually need an area on our app where we can display an image. So get rid of this text view right here, and there's going to be one single widget, really easy. Just going to drag, might as well just drag it right in the middle. Alright, now this is kind of annoying me that it's just a little pixel by default. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the minimum height. Right there, that was maximum. Alright, so I'm going to give it a minimum of 300 dp and 300 dp. Alright, pretty good. So this is just so whenever you're developing your interface, you can kind of, it's a little easier to visualize than that one little pixel right there. And also the other thing that I need to do is I need to give this an ID, and I will give it an ID of Bucky's image view. Alright, so now we have an area where we can display a photo, and again what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be displaying my face And one thing I'm going to do before I show you guys how to add that overlay to it to make it look vintage look is I'm just going to show you guys how to apply effects manually, and we're going to invert the image. Now if you don't know what invert the image is, this is like on every photo editing program, but it pretty much makes you look like you're going through an x-ray machine or something. So it was one of the easiest ones to implement. Alright, so hop over to main activity, and the first thing I'm going to do is clean this up. I also, as a side note, I changed my color, my comments to this kind of green, bluish, turquoise kind of color. It looked like gray, like a light gray was kind of hard to read in the video, so I like having my comments pop and stand out. So that's what I did. Alright, where was I? So what I want to do now before I begin is I want to import a bunch of stuff, and I already have them copied. So here you go. And again, if you want to, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this source code and I'm going to post it on that exact same forum topic that you guys download the images. So if you just want to copy all of these and paste them in, then please do that. It'll save you a bunch of time. So now the first thing I want to do is I want to get a reference to pretty much this image view and also these images right here. So let's go ahead and do the image view first. So image view, I think it was named Bucky's plural, well not plural, possessive image view. Alright, so I want to get a reference to my face, which was my profile photo. So I'll just say drawable Bucky's face, Bucky's fame. Be an interesting photo. And what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be taking this right here, which is a JPEG, as you can see, and in order to work with it for Android, you need to convert it into a bitmap image. Now a bitmap allows you to work with the individual pixels. You can, JPEG and PNGs, they're good for just displaying like logos and graphics and buttons on the screen, but if you ever want to be able to manipulate the individual pixels, then you need to convert it to a bitmap. So again, this is the JPEG version, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to convert it to a bitmap image. Alright, so give myself a little bit more space here. Alright, so on create, the first thing I want to do is I want to take Bucky's image view and actually set that. Alright, image view, find view by ID, r.id. Alright, so this of course just is a reference to this, and you guys already know why we need that, so we can actually display something there. Now let me get a reference to this JPEG right here, and the way we do that is we gotta get the resources, and then since it's drawable, you gotta get the drawable, and what drawable that you want? How about this one named Bucky? Alright, so again, all we are doing right here is getting a reference to my face, and it is a drawable, so that's why it's giving me this error right there. Alright, so now the JPEG is stored in the variable Bucky's face, but remember I told you guys that you need to convert it to a bitmap in order to use it. So we already have a variable called bitmap image where we can store that information. So bitmap image. Now to convert a JPEG to a bitmap, then what you do is this. If you go to bitmap, where are you at? Bitmap drawable, Bucky's face, what this is going to do is it's going to take this and cast it into a bitmap drawable object, and then on this you need to call the method, did I just type hey? Get. Huh. Look at that, they are kind of similar on the keyboard. Anyways, get bitmap. So again, it's kind of a weird syntax right here, but this takes JPEG and converts it into a bitmap so we can work with the individual pixels. So now what I want to do is I want to add some photo filter to this bitmap. Now if I write all the code in here, then it's going to get messy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to store it in an entirely new variable called new photo, and this is going to be equal to invert image function that we're going to be creating later on. Now let me pass this in right here. Alright, so again, it's giving us error because this is going to be the method that we create in the next tutorial that's going to take your image and convert it, or in other words, invert it, apply some cool effect to it. So I'm going to be passing in the original bitmap image, which is pretty much that image you saw of my face. We're going to be inverting it, and I'm going to store the new data in a variable called new photo. And what do we want to do with this new inverted photo? Well, of course, we just want to display it right here. So if you go to Bucky's image view, in order to set that content of the image view to a new photo, we'll say set image bitmap new inverted photo. So that looks pretty good for this tutorial. That is how you set everything up, and in the next tutorial we're actually going to be digging through them pixels, and I'm going to show you guys how to tweak them and create a cool inverted image effect. Alright, hosses, welcome back, and now that we got all the boring stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff, actually inverting that image. So the first thing I want to do is just add a comment, and I will say like invert a bitmap image. Alright, so we named it invert image, and it's going to be public static, and also it's going to return bitmap data invert image. Now remember, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be passing in essentially my profile picture after it's converted to a bitmap, and it's going to build an entirely new image based on that, and it's going to return that new image. So that's why we return bitmap right there. And also for the parameter that it accepts is going to be a bitmap image, and I'll just name the original image original. Why not? So again, the first thing we need is pretty much a blank bitmap image, and this is eventually going to store the cool new inverted image. So bitmap, I'll just name it final image, and in order to create pretty much a blank canvas that you can create a new bitmap on, you set it equal to bitmap dot create bitmap, and the parameters that this takes is, first of all, you're creating a new bitmap, you need to tell me how big it's going to be, how wide and how tall. So we're just going to say, well, actually go to the original image and get the width of that, and also get the height of that, so the new image that we're creating is essentially going to be the same size as the original. Now the last parameter that this takes is just one that's original, called get config, and this is just background information because this create bitmap, it takes 3 parameters, and this is the third one. But later on, again, this is just a blank image right now. Just think of it like is a white square that's 230 by 230, and we're going to be building the new image directly on it. So how this program is going to work is this: we essentially have that blank white square that we just created in memory, and we have this original image. So what we want to do is we want to loop through every single row and every single column and look at the pixels one by one. Now every single pixel we look at, we're just going to be inverting, in other words, tweaking the value a little bit and sticking it on this new image. So we're going to be building this new bitmap piece by piece, pixel by pixel. So the first thing that I always say the first thing. It's like, this is the second tutorial and I've done like 70 different things, but it's always the first thing. It's kind of weird, but you know, hey, life is funny sometimes. Alright, so we need variables to store that information. So every pixel, as you know, it's made up of RGB, a red, a green, and a blue value, but we also need the alpha value, in other words, the transparency. So we're just going to be storing them in variables A, RGB, alpha, red, green, and blue, and also the individual pixel. We're going to look at a variable called pixel color. This is just to store one value. So, like I said, we're going to be making a for loop. Where's my image? We're going to be making a for loop that loops through every single pixel, and in order to make this, you actually make a for loop within a for loop. So you can loop through the columns and the rows. So how many times does your for loop have to loop? Well, it depends on how big your image is. So if you make a variable called height, then we can just copy this right here. So for this image, since it's 230 by 230, it's going to say, okay, get height, which pretty much means how many pixels tall, and we're going to be storing it in that. And for this, of course, we already know that the width is right there. And this is just so we don't have to hard code the values 230 by 230, because if we ever throw an image in here that is a different size, then I want this program to be compatible with that as well. So now to loop through every pixel, int y equals 0, y is less than height, and y plus plus, and inside here, just going to be copying all this, and my counter variable is x, and of course instead of height we want width. So again, a loop within a loop, and all that's just going to do is be responsible for looping through every single pixel. Obviously simple stuff. So now what I want to do is I want to grab the first, well, a single pixel. Whatever pixel you are currently on, just grab that pixel. So if I go to pixel color, then what I can do is I can go to the original dot get pixel, and in here I can just pass in x and y. So again, the very first value of this, the very first pixel it's going to look at is 0, 0, the pixel in the very top left corner. So we are essentially looking at that pixel and storing it in a variable called pixel color. So now what we need to do is we need to break up that pixel into the individual values. So what we need to do is we need to set this equal to color dot alpha pixel color. So pretty much get the alpha value of this pixel. You know, it may be easier if I just explain it this way. So let's first get the individual information about each pixel. So red, and do this for each one. So this is just going to return how much red is in that individual pixel and store it in the variable red. And now I'm going to do this with all my other colors. Oh, no, no, no. And B. Alright, so this gets the green value of that pixel, and this gets the blue value of that pixel. Now, what we can do is, right now, all of these values are just the same as the original. However, we want to tweak them. We want to invert them. Now, for the alpha, that can stay the same because we aren't really worried about it from this tutorial. However, to get the inverse of it, the RGB, what we can do is take 255 and subtract the red value of the original photo. And we can actually do this for everyone. So paste it in here, paste it in here. So now I have new values for A, R, G, and B. The alpha is actually the same, but the R, G, and B is 255 minus the red value of the original, minus the green value, and the blue. So now what we can do is take these new values for every single channel and build that final image, that image that we were hoping to return. So for the final image, what we can do is actually we can call something called set pixels, and if we type X, I'll explain what this does in just a second. Color alpha, red, green, and blue, A. Alright, that was a nice burp, by the way. Alright, and why is this giving me an error? It is because I set pixels instead of pixels. Alright, so again, what we're doing is we're looping through pixel by pixel, and then we're taking all of the pixel information about that pixel, all of the values, and we are inverting them. And then we're saying, okay, for the final image, for that new image that you're building, take whatever pixel at this appropriate coordinate and set it equal to the new values. So again, pixel by pixel, row by row, we're going to convert this into a new inverted image. And that's it. The only thing we have to do now is return this. So let me make sure I put it in the right place. So return final image. So when this is done looping, you're going to have a brand new image. So now if I run this, all right there, wow, this is creepier than I thought it would be. But that is how you invert an image, and in the next tutorial it's not going to be as creepy. You know, I'm just going to get rid of that right now. I don't want to look at that anymore. But in the next tutorial, what I'm going to show you guys how to do is use this filter and overlay on this image, so it'll be a lot less weird and scary. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Alright guys, so in this video, now that we know how to make really creepy inverted photo effects, what I want to do is of course show you guys how to overlay photos on top of each other. In other words, this is how you make frames. And if you ever saw like the vintage old beat up look at where you take a photo and you add like some cracks and scratches and dust speckles to it, that's what we're going to be doing. So there's actually a bunch of these overlays that you can just get online anywhere you want, but this is the one that I'm going to be using. So what I want to do is actually go down to this chunk of code right here, and this is all from the last couple tutorials, so I'm just going to comment this little chunk out. We don't need to do anything with this invert image because this is just a method, and if we don't call it, then it won't bother us. But what we're essentially going to be doing is this. We need to do something called layering objects, or layering, kind of think of it like stacking photos on top of each other. So if we had this photo, just think of it like you're holding it in your hand, set it on the table. Now if you had this photo, set this on top of it. That's essentially what we're going to be doing with our program. So in order to get these layers, or in order to use different layers, if we call drawable, what we can do is we can make an array of layerable objects. So I'm just going to name my array layers and set it equal to new drawable, and in here of course we need to say how big is your array. Well, we're only going to be stacking two things, or layering two things on top of each other, so 2. So now what we can do is we can go through and start building this layer by layer. So in your layers, the very first item is this. Of course, the first thing we want to stack is this. That's going to be the base of it. So if we go to get resources, on this we can call get drawable, and for the parameters, r.drawable.bucky. Right there. So we already saw what this did. Again, it's just my face, my profile photo. That's the very first layer. Now we're going to be making another layer on top of that, so we can just copy that because we are lazy. And this one was named dirty. So this is dirty right here. So now we have 2 layers looking good. However, right now all of this only exists in memory. Nothing's appearing on the screen, nothing's showing up on your phone, anything like that. In order to take this object in memory and convert it into something your device can use, you need to turn it into a drawable object. So the class for this is right there, layer drawable, and I'll just name it layer drawable, and you set it equal to new layer drawable, and in here it's the easiest thing ever. You just throw in your layers. So this is going to take whatever your stack is, whatever layers of photo you have, and it's going to convert it into a drawable object so your device can display it. So now the only thing you have to do is you can just take your image view, which is that area where you can display an image, set image drawable, and in here we can just type right like that, the drawable layers. So now let me go ahead and run this. Alright guys, so here it is. I know it doesn't look that great. It looks like I have like a bunch of crap on my beard, or I don't know, just like a bunch of weird. It just looks it just looks like I'm dirty rather than a cool effect. But I don't have a background in photography or anything like that. I'm a computer programmer, so that is how you achieve the effect. Hopefully whenever you guys do this, you can make it look like you're not dirty. And also, since this is kind of a short tutorial, let me show you guys how to do one extra bonus thing. If you ever want to save an image on your device, I'm going to show you guys a real quick way to do it. There's actually some different methods, but uncomment the code. You can just comment all this out and uncomment this, so pretty much you're back at where you started at the beginning of this tutorial. And the line that you can use to actually save an image on the user's device is this. If you go to Media, Store, Images, .media, .insert image, then the first parameter is get content resolver. And after this, what you can do is, you know how in the last tutorial we returned this new photo, and this new photo was that creepy inverted image that looked like, I don't know, I was like from a scary movie or something. You can pass that in as your second parameter, and every photo that you store on your Android device on your phone, it needs a title and a description. So for right now, I'm just gonna write title, but later on you might like want to allow the user to type in a title through input, or just name it something like random. And of course I'll just put the word description for the description, but this would be something like me at the beach, or hey, this is me and my girlfriend, and this is private, so hopefully you're not reading this right now. So something like that off the top of my head. So by the way, this is not my girlfriend, for everyone who's asking. This is my sister. And yeah, some people asked if she was my wife, and she's definitely not. So that is how you do this. And of course, if I ran this right now, then we won't be able to see anything. But if you are running this on an actual device and you run this bit of code right now, you can run it, and then if you close out of the app and look back in your gallery or your photos, whatever it's called, you're going to see that it indeed did save the image. It did save the image to your device. And again, all of the source code is going to be available on my forum, so if you want it, then go ahead and it's yours. But for now, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will smell you guys in the next video. Alrighty guys, welcome back to another video, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk to you guys about notifications, how to create them, when you use them, tomato. And this is actually my second time recording this video, because I just made one like 10 minutes ago, but I was editing it, getting it ready for YouTube, and I realized that I just spent like 4 minutes just telling you guys a story about my life, wasting time. So I was like, you know what, probably should make that again, focused on the notification Android stuff instead of me just rambling on about my life. So here I am, take 2. Alright, so what is a notification? You guys already know what it is. Let's say that, I don't know, someone likes your Facebook post. You're going to get a little icon, bloop, and then it says, whenever you slide down the status bar, alright, Bucky Roberts left a comment on your Facebook post, or whatever like that. It's pretty much just a little alert that lets you know that something is going on. And the cool thing about this is you can be completely out of your app. You can be on your home screen, maybe just checking the time, whatever, and you don't have to have your app open. It'll just make a little notification right there. And yeah, so you guys already know what that is, so that's what we're going to learn how to do. So the first thing we need to do is say, okay, just for this test app, when do we want to send notifications? Because typically you're going to have some service running in the background, checking a database for like new comments or new likes or something. But for now, we're just going to make a button on the screen, and when you click it, it sends a notification, because it's pretty easy for this example. So delete this text view and drag a button on there. Oh, that one looks nice. And we'll just say click for notification. You can just say click if you want, it doesn't really matter. And the ID of this, I'll just write Bucky's button. So whenever we click this, what's going to happen is it's going to send that notification, and of course we need an onClick method. Where is, oh, in alphabetical order, probably could have guessed that. Bucky's button clicked. So again, this is the method we're going to be building later on that's going to send the notification to the system. So that's all the interface is going to be. Again, all of the hard work we're going to be doing in our code via that notification thingy. So the first thing I want to do is we can actually probably get rid of these. Don't need you guys for this tutorial. And clean all this stuff. And there they are right there. Alright. So, well, I'll explain what all of this does, or actually you probably will figure it out by the time I can even explain it. So those are all the imports. Pause the video, copy them down. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to build an object that's pretty much going to be the notification itself. And by the notification itself, I mean this thing right here. So the notification is kind of two parts. The first part is the little thing you see on your status bar, which has a little icon and a little message that says like, Bucky Roberts liked your post. That little message is called the ticker. It's usually like one sentence long, maybe just a few words, just a little indicator that let you know, hey, you have a new notification. Then you slide down with your thumb or your finger or whatever, and then this, whenever I say the notification, I'm usually referring to this part. So I know it's like a two-part process, but whenever I say the notification itself, I'm usually referring to this main notification, which usually consists of an icon, which may be like the logo of your app. That's typically what it is. Or if it's like some social activity, it may be the person who either liked or commented or sent you an invite, whatever. And then you have this text right here, and aside from that you have the time. So again, it's made up of a couple different things. An icon, text, which is actually a title, and the body of the text in the time. And I'll show you guys how to customize all of these, well, right now. So the first thing, of course, is an object, so we can actually start building that notification. So it's actually notification compat right there, and then you call builder on it. So this pretty much lets you build a new notification. Simple enough, and I'm just going to name mine notification because I'm that creative. Notification. There we go. Notification. Make sure you spell it right. Now another thing that you need is this. Let me type this out real quick. Private static final int, and I'll just name mine unique ID and set it equal to some random number for right now. How about I don't know, just throw your fingers on the keyboard. 45612. Why not? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be giving an ID number to each notification that we build. Alright, why do we need an ID number for the notification? Well, check this out. Typically, the user has a bunch of notifications, which means that your phone has to keep track of them all. So, to keep track of, for example, this one, new Google Plus notification, your system says, okay, whenever I click this, I need to go to the Google Plus app. Whenever I click, like this one, 3 new messages, I need to go to the Gmail app. And in order to organize all of your different notifications, we need to pass it along an ID number, because if we didn't have this, then your system would just view everything as a plain basic notification and it wouldn't know how to handle each one. So that's why you need an identity, or yeah, to identify each one, whatever. Alright, so now let's go ahead and actually do something with this object. Set it equal to what it needs to be equal to, and that is equal to new notification compat. Probably should just copy this. Notification compat dot builder, and of course what you pass in here is just this for context. Now under this, another thing that I want to do is, well, I'll explain it in just a second. If you call notification set auto cancel and then you pass in true, what does this mean? Why would you want to cancel your notification whenever you created this activity? Well, this method gets called whenever you open this screen right here. So why would you want to cancel, or in other words, delete your notification? Well, it's because of this. Let's say we were making this app for Google Plus and it said, okay, Earl Libbard added you back. Alright, so you click that because Earl, you guys are good buddies, you wanted some more information, and you got sent to your app. Well, you went to the app, and then that notification didn't disappear, it just stayed at the top of your screen. You're like, wait a minute, I just clicked it, and isn't that supposed to go away whenever I click it? Well, this set auto cancel means whenever you go to this screen, whatever notifications you have relating to this screen, you're just going to go ahead and delete them. So again, it just I don't know, it's just kind of like standard program practice. Whenever you click a notification, it deletes from that top system status bar. So simple enough. So now what I want to do is, now that we got all the housekeeping stuff taken care of, is actually start building that notification, adding the icon, the title, all that good stuff. And in order to do that, remember we said whenever we click this button, it's going to call the method Bucky's button clicked. So that's what we're going to be doing in the next tutorial, actually learning how to customize our notifications. Alright, so now that we got all the background crap done with handling our notification, let's go ahead and actually start building it. In other words, giving it an icon, a title, some text, all that good stuff. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call public void Bucky's button clicked. And remember, this is the method that gets called whenever we click this button on the screen. We want to create a notification and send it out to the system. So the first thing, let me comment this, build the notification. And remember, a notification, I don't even know, I closed out my screen, but the first part is an icon, the second part is a text, and the third part is, it's either the time. A lot of these things are optional, but let's go ahead and learn how to do it right now. So anytime you want to add one of these attributes, you just call notification, which is your notification object, and we'll set small icon first. Now usually you want this to be like a picture or the logo of your app, but I was too lazy to drag any images in here, so I'm just going to use this one right here. This is just the default one that comes with every project that you make. It's just a little Android icon, and it's IC_launcher. Again, you would typically make this like the logo of your app, like I said, but whatever. So I'm just going to set this to r.id IC_launcher, and it's giving me error because it is not drawable. Alright, so another thing that I want to do is I'm going to set the ticker text. And the ticker text, remember, whenever you get a notification, let me minimize that, and let's say that you're just out of the app and you're just, I don't know, scrolling through, maybe you're checking the app store, maybe you're in another app, whatever. The first thing that's going to happen is you're going to hear a little sound effect, and then it's going to give you this little icon right here and the little text that says you have a new notification, or Bucky liked your post, whatever. That little bit of text right on the status bar, that's called the ticker. So that's what I'm going to build now. It's real easy. Notification dot set ticker, and in here you just put some text like, I don't know, this is the ticker. I'll just write that so when we see it in the example, you guys will know what it is. Now another thing that you can do is you can set that time. So notification set when, because remember, your notification on that right side, you have the optional time, and that way when people are looking at the notifications, they can see when you like send them an invitation, or when you commented on their post. Was it an hour ago? Was it 2 seconds ago? Whatever. So what we can actually just do here is take system current time millis, and that's just going to get the current time and pass it in to your notification. It's like the easiest way. Now the other part is this. I'm going to add two more things. The notification set content title. Now remember, that text that appeared on the notification kind of was like the text and email. It had two parts. The title, which was the main header, and the text, which was a little blurb of text under it. So just so you guys can see what's going on, I'll just write here is the title and notification set content text. This is the main body of it. And I'll just write like I am the body text of your notification, and make sure you spell that wrong. Actually, it's bothering me. Alright, so I am the whatever blah blah. No period. F the period. Alright. So now we have our notification built. In other words, it looks like something. It's the little alien icon, and then it says here's the title, I am the body text of your notification, and it gives the time in the upper right corner. So that's what it looks like, but now we have to say, okay, whenever the user clicks on this notification, what do we want to happen? Well, what we want to do, and this is just going to be real easy, is we're just going to send them back to our app's home screen. Now, if you have like a special notification section of your app, or it was some action that you wanted them to perform, then you can send them to that, but we only have one screen here, so it looks like they're going to that. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make an intent. I'm just going to call it intent for right now, and set it equal to new intent. Now in this, you pass this for context, and then the name of the class where you want to send them, and it's just this one right here. So main activity dot class, just like before. Now we can't just send them to the intent with one more line of code, because remember, this intent and the way we learned how to do before, it was great whenever you just have a couple intents and they're already in your app. But remember, they can be in an entirely different part of your phone. They can be in another app, they can just be on the home screen looking at the time, they can be in the app store. So what we need to do is we need to give your device access to perform this intent. We need to give the phone the ability to access our app. So what we do is we call a pending intent, and I'll just name it pending intent, whatever, you can name it, I don't know, whatever you want, and set it equal to pending intent get activity singular, and alright, so the first parameter this takes is this 0, and then the third parameter is intent, which is essentially what we've been learning before, and the last one is pending intent dot flag update current. And I want to cover pending intents in detail later on, but for right now, just think of it that this line of code right here, it gives your phone or your device access to the intents in our app. And of course, all this does is it puts them on the home screen. Simple enough. So now, in order to pretty much set this intent, what we just do is notification set content intent right there, and in here we just write pending intent. Alright, pretty cool. Now there's two more lines of code that we need. So this of course takes care of whenever they click it, they're going to go to this home screen right here, and oh, funny thing, I just got a notification on my phone right now. Wow, that is ironic. The universe, man. It's a funny world sometimes. Alright, so now all we have to do is we need to essentially send out the notification. So I'll just make a little comment like Bill's notification and issues it. By the way, issuing a notification means sending it out to your device. So in order to do that, you actually use a notification manager, and I'll just name it like, I like NM better. Nice try. Alright, then typecast this to notification manager, and you call the method get system service. What service are we worried about? The notification service. So now we have a notification manager, pretty much some dude that can build and send out notifications. Just think of it like that. So how do we send it out? Well, we take that manager dude, and he calls a method called notify, and it takes two parameters. The first one is the ID of your notification, because remember, he needs to manage them all, he needs to keep track of them all. The other one is the notification itself. So that's our notification, In other words, it's this icon, that ticker, that time, title, text, all that good stuff. And in order to put it all together, you just write build, and that's it. So again, this is just the object that can send out notifications. We're building it and sending it out to the system right here. This is where we say whenever they actually click it, take them to this screen. And right here, of course, we're just customizing it to our liking. And well, that's pretty much it. So now let me go ahead and run this. Alright, so let's click for notification. Boop, there it is. And you can also add a sound to it if you want. I'll show you guys how to add sounds later on. This is just a real quick tutorial. And of course, we drag it down. You can just click with your mouse and drag, and it'll simulate you dragging your finger. But this, of course, is that icon. This is the title. This is the body text. And this is the time, 12:16. And of course, whenever we go to it, we can just click it. No matter where we are, it takes us to whatever activity we specified in our intent, and take note that that icon or notification disappears, and it disappears because of this right here. If you didn't have this, then whenever you went back, for example, whenever you clicked on that notification, it would just stick up there, and it would be really annoying for the user. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you use notifications with Android.